savewithconrad.com.
My name is Sergio. I'm from Lancaster in California. The motivation behind just following through with this refinance was to have a baby on the way. So just wanted to get everything in order. In the past couple of years, just afraid to pull the trigger, but then it just seemed like the right time to do it. I went to multiple banks, not only the mortgage I had, but then I went to you, and then I also went to several others. And it just seemed like your team, they were just completely honest and outright. Also, all the information was just laid out for me right there and then, answering all my questions in a timely, efficient manner. Diane was just so helpful and above and beyond accessible with both texting and emails, and just any information that they needed. She would explain to me what exactly they wanted me to send, and then if there were any issues, she was able to just resolve them pretty quickly, versus other companies that sometimes it would take a couple of days to get some information. We were looking to pay down some debt, also looking into making some improvements to the home, also build up our backyard, do everything, especially for our daughter coming. By doing this cash out, it's a good amount that we're saving, between $1,000 and $1,500 a month, I would say. It helped out tremendously as well. My name's Sergio. I'm from Lancaster, California, and I saved over $1,500 a month with savewithconrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. Savewithconrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to Grilling JR with the voice of professional wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, how are you, man?
I'm good, Connie. I don't know if I'm as good as you are, but you sound energetic and motivated. I'll try to catch up to you.
Man, I had a good night's sleep last night. I got 8 hours. It's rare I get 8 hours, but it was fun, man. I got a good night's sleep, waking up, having a little protein drink, now powering down some energy drinks. It's going to be a good week, Jim. You've got a busy day today, but what we're all concerned about is what's happening this weekend. Forbidden Door is right around the corner. It is indeed a loaded card. And Jim, you're going to be there. You're making the trip to the O2 in the UK, right?
Yeah, I'm flying over on Friday. I get there Saturday morning, and it's kind of how I do that when I do the UK trips. I arrive the day before, hopefully early, and this is early. I get in about 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So I got a little routine, and after all these years, you kind of get sold on your routines. I feel safer. I feel more detailed. I feel more organized. And so that's my weekend. And I think, well, I think we'll have a good show. And I think you and I talked before we started recording. Taz has got some medical issues he's going to take care of. So he's not going to be there. So I don't know what Tony's plan is. Probably Tony and Excalibur and me. So it'll be fun. I like working with those guys. They don't put any pressure on you. They don't mind laying out, I don't mind laying out. We're going to do our jobs better, I think.
I'm excited for Forbidden Door. Speaking about Taz, before everybody gets panicked about what Jim just said, just yesterday, as JR and I are recording, Taz tweeted out, "I will be off this week. A combo of doctor's appointments / imaging tests on a couple of future surgeries, some R&R, and most importantly, my new knee does not cooperate too well with very long flights at the moment. Hope you all enjoy AEW Dynamite and Forbidden Door." Of course, Jim, you and I are recording on Wednesday morning, which has become our habit in the past few years.
Right.
So tonight is Dynamite, and Glasgow is hosting Dynamite. I know by the time everyone hears this, they already know. But, man, these international crowds, they are fired up for some live pro wrestling. I can't wait to watch the show tonight, largely because of the crowd.
Yeah, they're incredible. No doubt. They're very much incredible. And it helps motivate everybody, whether you're on the crew or you're announcing, you're wrestling, you're interviewing, whatever it may be. It seems like everybody invests emotionally in the process, and it all functions. So it's going to be fun. It's just it's a motivational atmosphere. I wouldn't mind doing the whole damn show. It'd be fine with me, but we'll see. Tony kind of likes me doing the two main events, and whatever the boss likes, I love.
Well, I'll tell you who else loves it. That's the fans in London. According to WrestleTix, as we're recording this morning, They had a setup for AEW Forbidden Door with 17,392 tickets available. As of this recording, the latest tweet from WrestleTix is that they've distributed 17,159. So only 233 seats remain. This is a guaranteed sellout, but maybe the biggest headline of the whole deal, Jim. I believe this is the 4th largest gate in wrestling history.
Really?
Outside of WWE, of course, but the 4th largest non-WWE gate in wrestling history. So, the first 2 international Wembley AEW shows, those are going to be there. But then this one has to be on the list as well. It's pretty incredible to think the appetite for AEW, for WWE, for professional wrestling in the UK, whether it's Scotland or it's England. I mean, my goodness, Europe loves them some pro wrestling, dude, and God bless them for it.
Oh man, no kidding. I have so much respect and appreciation for the UK audience. I probably can't even put it into words, but it's just wonderful. They treat you great. They treat you great at the hotel, and we always stay at real good hotels. I don't even check them anymore. I get an itinerary probably tomorrow that'll have the hotel info on it, and they'll pick me up at the airport and take me to the hotel, and I'll get there real early, and so I'll have a little breakfast and then take a nap. It's a pretty routine deal. It's boring as hell, but it's what I do, and I like doing it that way.
We love watching AEW on pay-per-view. They seemingly always deliver. You and I've been saying that for a long time here on the program. No matter what you think about AEW, if your fandom says, oh, I like this company better, that company better, I challenge you, watch an AEW pay-per-view. You're going to get your money's worth. I've never heard of anyone who watched an AEW pay-per-view and then was like, nah, it just doesn't happen. They always deliver.
Yeah.
And it's because you get matchups that you don't often see. So we're going to run through some of the crazy matchups that are happening this weekend. Our topic today is going to be Jim Ross's 1995 and what a crazy time this was. Is he in the WWF? Is he out of the WWF? Wait, what the hell is Bill Watts doing here? There's a whole lot to unpack. So stay tuned for that. But first, Forbidden Door this weekend, there's going to be a reunion of sorts. Adam Copeland and Christian Cage are going to be teaming up really for the first time in a long time. Everybody remembers all their success from decades ago now. They are absolute bona fide Hall of Fame legends getting together against a young tag team. Kip Sabian, who's a personal favorite of mine, and Nick Wayne, who I count as a friend. I can't believe this interview I saw recently. Kip Sabian said Nick Wayne might be the best 20-year-old ever. The idea that this is a young guy, and I think people forget, he was sort of promised, or I don't know, maybe the carrot was dangled. Hey, you're going to be an AEW full-time wrestler. We just need you to graduate high school. And now here he is.
Good idea.
Against the former Edge and Christian. This is make-believe stuff here, Jim.
Yeah, it's a great idea, Conrad, to graduate.
Yes.
And I thought about that a lot. I have thought about it a lot over the years. But, you got to get good at finishing something.
Yes.
And so I think that anybody that's getting into wrestling as a teen needs to think about that decision. It's not the wrong decision, but it's a controversial decision, to say the least. And, the kid, he's a one-trick pony in this respect, that he's counting on pro wrestling to take care of all of his ills as he gets older. Now, he may be saving his cash, going to buy some real estate, which I suggest. And, I got the guy on the other end here right now that's the expert at that. So I have a little bit of an advantage. It's good. So anyhow, it all works out well. Excuse me, Conrad. I'm sorry. What is the, I was wondering, how do those fucking ear pods work? If I'm going to be on the airplane, I want to listen to something on my iPad. Should I have my the headsets like these, or do I get the buds?
I rock the AirPods. I do. And if you use an iPhone, best I remember, I think you'll love the AirPods. They're very intuitive.
Really?
Yeah. If you open it near your phone, you'll be able to just click along on the screen. And my dad had no problem pairing it. I'll say that.
I love your dad. He's smarter than I am. He's probably smarter than you are. I don't know.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Let's talk about some of the other matches from Forbidden
Yeah,
Door. Of
let's
course, we
do
know
it.
Tanahashi is going to be in action. He's a big-time star, bona fide Hall of Famer. If you've never seen Tanahashi, he's almost doing like a farewell tour. It's a big deal. You're going to want to see this. You're also going to want to see Mercedes Moné taking on all comers. She's got the TBS championship on the line, and it's going to be a four-way with a challenger from AEW, a challenger from CMLL, and even a challenger from Stardom. We're also going to see Zack Sabre Jr. defend his New Japan World Championship. We call it the IWGP World Heavyweight title against Nigel McGuinness. It wasn't that long ago. We all thought, hey, we've seen Nigel's last match because he's done a fabulous job on commentary. But we saw him come out last year at All In and Wembley. I'm so thankful and so appreciative that we get to see this. This is going to be a Matt classic. If you're in the mood for old school throwback European style, man, you're going to get that in a double dose here. Don't you think, Jim?
Yeah, it's going to be a great match. I'm very excited because that pairing has not been worn out.
Yes.
It's fresh. It's new. I'm sure that Nigel's opponent grew up watching a lot of Nigel on TV back in the day. So their styles mesh. There shouldn't be any awkward pauses, if you will. So I think that should be a hell of a match, really. And they're in London. It's like somebody here working the Garden. They're at the O2, and it was 17,000 plus on hand. So it's going to look good. It's going to sound good, and that's very motivational.
I can't stress how excited I am for this crowd. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's been great to see the big shows in Wembley, and I know we're going to see a great spectacle there next year. But the intimacy and the sound not just escaping up, and man, I just feel like it's going to be a loud, rowdy crowd. I can't wait to see it. I'm excited to see Kyle Fletcher defend his TNT championship against Takahashi from New Japan Pro Wrestling. We'll also see the Hurt Syndicate.
And Conrad, excuse me just for 1 second. We'll go back to that Tanahashi slide. There.
Takahashi.
What is it?
That's Takahashi.
Takahashi. Who did I say? Tanahashi?
Yes, sir. He is in another match, though.
Yeah, really.
Mm-hmm.
Takahashi is excellent. He's a hell of a hand. He's a little bit bigger version of Rey Mysterio. He can fly at any angle. He can turn defense into offense to the blink of an eye. Very colorful, a lot of charisma, but he's got that style that's just it's hard to replicate. And I don't think anybody can replicate it. Now, I don't know what kind of shape he's in. I haven't seen him work lately, but he's a very talented kid. And as I said, one of the great things about him is that he's innovative. And I think this match would be a great learning experience for Kyle Fletcher, who the company has huge expectations of. So it should be really good. Like I said, this is a match that I've never called. Now, I don't know if I'm going to call it a Sunday or not, but in any event, if you can watch the pay-per-view, you're going to love this match. I really believe that. It's not hyperbole. The son of a bitch is just excellent. And then Kyle Fletcher's trying to move up the ladder.
Yep.
And every time he gets an opportunity of this magnitude, it's incumbent upon him to put it all out there because he's building a resume. His opponent has already built a resume, so they have different they're having different plans. But one thing, Conrad, they both at the end of the day, they both want to have the best match on the show, and by doing that in their mind's eye, they're gonna pull out all the stops. It's going to be a real good experience for us fans, and if I get to call it, it's even better for me. It's better than sitting in the announcer's dressing room watching it on the monitor, which I may do. That's not a bad thing either.
I got to tell you, I'm pretty fired up to see what Okada and Swerve Strickland can do. This is for the Unified Championship. Okada is the longest reigning champion in AEW history. Swerve Strickland has firmly established himself as one of the pillars of AEW. This is going to have a big fight feel to it, don't you think, Jim?
Yeah, it'll be great. It harkens back to some of the earlier matches that I called of Okada's, Tokyo Dome, that type thing, a couple of times over here in the States before he signed with AEW. So they both got a lot on the line here. These are two big time talents on a huge stage that gives them the platform or the canvas to paint any kind of picture they want. And that's one of the great things about Tony Khan. He's still a fan, but he's just as you know, he lets you do your job. And God Almighty, I know I'm not the best at it, but after 50 years in the business, if I don't know what the hell I'm doing now, take me to the hospital or somewhere, a psych ward. So it's just I'm pumped like you are, Conrad. Every match that you've mentioned thus far is a match that I want to see.
Well, how about Athena challenging Timeless Tony Storm? Athena, man, she was a fan favorite over All Out Weekend, or All In Weekend, rather, in Arlington, Texas. She had a big match on Ring of Honor. Of course, then she picked up the big win the very next day at the pay-per-view. So here is her title shot. Timeless Tony Storm, clearly one of the best characters in wrestling today, but Athena, man, I think she's got a groundswell of support. What about the world title? MJF challenging Hangman Adam Page for the world title. I got to tell you, I've been really impressed with the growth and development of both of these guys. I know that, clearly they both had success in professional wrestling prior to AEW, but I would even go so far as to say these are like homegrown talent. And I know that Hangman had been in New Japan and he had been in Ring of Honor.
He'd also been in high school and junior high. What the fuck are we talking about? Sometimes fans can be overbearing, and hey, look, nobody loves their fans any more than me. I can promise you that. But golly, nitpicking is amazing in this society, and it's social media driven. Obviously, we know that. It's not that there's 2 or 3 new magazines out every month or a periodical that comes out every week or anything like that. It's social media that drives it. So, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but when you open yourself up to the social media and when you exploit it to some degree, it's just hard to control. So you get a variety of opinions, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I learn the feelings of fans through social media. I got a Twitter account. I think I may have Instagram, but I don't run it. But I do handle my Twitter, and I've enjoyed doing that since I figured out what the hell it was. I probably had Conrad show me.
Well, I'll tell you who hasn't needed any showing around, and that's Hangman Adam Page. He's gone from basically being a supporting cast member when AEW first started. Now he is clearly the central figure. MJF takes issue with that. He's looking to recapture that glory of the world title. But the match that I think is going to be the one everybody's talking about, you want to talk about a spectacle, look no further than a lights out steel cage match with Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi teaming with Darby Allin, Tanahashi, and Will Ospreay to take on the Death Riders of Claudio Castagnoli and Jon Moxley, the Young Bucks, and Gabe Kidd. I don't know what to expect other than to say expect the unexpected. If Darby Allin's running around there's going to be something crazy happening in this one, Jim.
Yeah, you're right about that. There's, I think that I wonder about the communication of something like this with so many participants, and will there be any communication problems? Who's steering the ship? Who's going to keep the rudder in the water? Because you got so much talent that can do so many great things. I'm sure we're going to be in awe. I'm like you. The lights out steel cage match is an attraction that we won't get again, probably. Not with these 10 guys. So fresh and new. I like that. Fresh and new. And we'll get to. I'm pretty sure I'll be calling that one because it'll go on. I'm sure it's going to go on last. I'm not sure, but I assume it will.
When I start thinking about that lights out steel cage match, I start thinking I might need some protection. I might need a stop box. I mean, let's be real. Owning a handgun for self-defense comes with serious responsibility. You need it secure, but also accessible when it matters most. And too often that means choosing between locking it away or leaving it out, which means it's vulnerable to kids, guests, or intruders. And that's the problem that Stopbox USA set out to solve. And I think they nailed it with the Stopbox Pro. It's 100% mechanical, keyless, battery-free lockbox that gives you instant controlled access to your firearm with no electronics, keys, or codes required. That's right. No keys, no codes, no apps. Just a patented 5-button locking system that responds only to your unique input. It's fast, intuitive, and built for muscle memory. So you're not thinking, you're reacting. And when seconds matter, well, that makes all the difference in the world. And with the Stopbox Pro, you don't have to trade safety for speed or peace of mind for readiness. Your firearm stays secure, but always within reach. And I want to mention, you don't have to worry about tariffs because everything in the Stopbox, and I mean everything, is sourced right here in the USA. They've got their own manufacturing facility too. That's going to ensure the highest quality product that gets sent out. Nothing's coming in from overseas and it's going to take forever to get from you. No, this was created by an American worker right here. We should also mention the Stopbox Pro is also TSA compliant. And for a limited time, our listeners can get a crazy good deal on Stopbox. We're talking 15% off your entire order when you use the code JR. And for even better savings, shop their bundles for the best deals on their best-selling products. Check out their bundles and save an exclusive 15% off site-wide when you use the code JR at StopboxUSA.com. Discover a better way to balance security and readiness with Stopbox.
Conrad, I'm wondering, because I'm traveling, would I check my at baggage or at the counter, or can you just carry it on?
You can't carry it on. You'd put it in your checked baggage.
Okay.
And then you're good to go.
Yeah, that's easy.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Can't beat it. Go check it out. You'll be glad you did. Stopbox Pro is the way to go. Hey, let's talk about Triple Mania. You know, we briefly touched on New Japan this weekend and their partnership with AEW. We know that WWE is at least part owner of AAA, and they just held, I guess, what we'll call the first ever WWE Triple Mania. It's certainly the first WWE produced Triple Mania. And there's even people pointing out, hey, Stu, the cameraman was there. Well, yeah, the production looked like a WWE show. And I, for one, thought it looked pretty cool. They had 19,691 fans there. It's an attendance record. It's a gate record. They had a record number of views. At least that's what WWE PR says. We'll toe the line for today. Conan goes into the Hall of Fame. The Undertaker has a heavy role backstage. Omos showed up. I mean, you want to talk about an attraction. This guy's bigger than life itself. And we saw a debuting Micro Man. This thing went viral. I mean, we're talking over 100 million views so far. What a spectacle. And only in pro wrestling do you see something like this, Jim. What'd you make of the Omos Micro Man incident?
I thought it was a great publicity.
Yes.
That picture there that Bull's showing right now is that's the story of the moment. I didn't see the show. I had plans, shall we say. So I thought it was a great, whoever the PR guy that pulled that picture out of the available photos was very bright. And I know that I got to look at it, and I've seen it all over social media because it's a hell of a shot. I bet this gets the big guy job. He just has to get rid of his 2 left feet. But he has an amazing look, amazing physique. So I thought it was pretty smart. Look, WWE they're red hot. They're making more money than they can spend, so to speak. Maybe not, but nonetheless, it was a smart move and real good marketing.
Real good marketing indeed. One of the things I wanted to ask you coming out of that show, Jim, is there's a big backlash among the Lucha fans there in Mexico City. They booed the devil out of Vikingo, and they wanted Del Rio. And I know that has been a sore subject with Lucha Libre fans and AAA fans because they feel like WWE's influence here has had them take the belt off of Del Rio, actually promote a match where Vikingo was defending the belt before he even won the belt. So maybe they feel a little offended by all that, but
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
It's an insult to your intelligence. I know that uh, we had an incident one time down in Houston where Jake Roberts, I can't remember the roles. You might remember. Somebody listening might have an idea on what it was about, but in the bottom line was that Jake Roberts was going to lose the North American title, and in 2 days he was booked in New York and at WWE, WWF at that time, and we wanted to keep it a secret. And there was a writer down in Houston who wrote a wrestling column for the main newspaper, and he loves to, break the news, be on the cutting edge, and we had a hell of a time keeping that under wraps. I don't think we did, because even back in those days, those sources of information existed, and boy, they were exploited as well.
Well, that's what I wanted to get to is the Del Rio thing. Of course, he's not using that name in AAA, but that's what we know him by in WWE parlance. So I want to ask, what would you do with Del Rio? I mean, this is a guy who certainly had some legal troubles in his rearview mirror, and I guess there's a report from Dave Meltzer that maybe there's some hard feelings because he was pretty vocal and saying some fairly negative things about Hunter years ago. I mean, that was probably nearly 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
But Vince was always able to do what was quote unquote best for business. And a lot of people, our friend Double J included, believe, well, Del Rio's certainly coming in. They're just waiting to tell the story. Do you think we'll see Del Rio in AEW? I mean, in AAA / WWE in the near future?
It wouldn't surprise me. He's a very good talent. He has a great look. Being bilingual is another positive selling point. His issues are his reliability, because of what you already talked about. There's issues there. He's outspoken. There's nothing wrong with being outspoken. That's a fact. But sometimes he speaks. Sometimes his timing isn't as good as one would ideally like. So, but all that takes is communication and management. But if he's not hired, it's not because, well, he's not a real good worker anymore. He's got up there in age, and he's right there at that borderline where, he's going to be hard to manage. I don't personally believe that. I just think he's a smart guy. He's been around the business his entire life. He just needs to have leadership and communication. Isn't that funny? Leadership and communication. How doesn't that apply to just about every damn factor of your life?
Yes.
So why is it that shouldn't be a mystery. It shouldn't be an issue we don't have a solution for this. Bullshit. It's a matter of being motivated. And I don't know what it was about him when I was there. There was a times where we had challenging issues because he is a smart guy, and he knows when he's being bullshitted. And, and that affects his work and affects his attitude. And he was influential more than people believe and think in the WWE locker room, especially with the Hispanic talents. He was kind of like the guy. So I don't know. He's a talent that's out there that somebody should grab sooner than later, because he's not going to be out of work long. I don't know if he's even out of work now.
No, he's still working in Mexico. I just don't think that he's been making any AAA shots. But I think a lot of people are wondering, what is next for him? Because guys like JBL, I mean, he's gone on Bruce's podcast and said he saw him firsthand earlier this year. I think it was in March. And he said that guy is probably the best worker in the business right now, just based on the way he has that relationship with the crowd. So I'll be interested to see what happens next with that. We'll keep an eye on it. Of course, we know that Dominic Mysterio is going to be challenging Vikingo for the world title. That's going to happen in September. And it's actually the same day that TKO is promoting that big boxing event. But speaking of big events, I don't know if you've seen this, Jim, but allegedly, and by the time this airs, maybe this has already been announced, there's a rumor out there that WWE is going to do essentially like a pop-up pay-per-view and they're going to do it heads up against AEW All Out. Now, All Out is going to be the Adam Copeland homecoming to Toronto. This is a big deal for AEW, certainly a big deal for old Edge fans and certainly modern Adam Copeland fans. I would venture a guess as to the main event. If you're watching the show, you can probably think about what that might be, and I'm pumped for it. But now we hear WWE might do a show that very same day with Brock Lesnar and John Cena. I know a lot of people believe that Brock Lesnar and John Cena were going to hook up at the Clash in Paris, but it doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like it's going to be in Indianapolis on September 20th. But even bigger than all this is that PW Insider promotes that there's been discussion within the broadcast industry over the last few days that the planned event for Saturday, September 20th could end up airing on ESPN as a preview of the type of programming the company will bring to that new partnership that officially kicks off in April 2026. On this report, Dave Meltzer doubled down and said the September 20th show looks like it's going to be on ESPN. They'll probably make that announcement this week, which is interesting only because in the fall, ESPN on a Saturday night is college football night. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
They have deals with all these conferences that are big money deals. It's some of the strongest programming of the year. I don't know what game would be on that day, but it's pretty possible that a game would do better numbers than even a Cena-Lesnar match would do. We don't know what a Cena-Lesnar match does, but here's what I do know. That's a big opportunity for WWE, but it feels like, and I don't care what everybody says, they're counter-programming AEW here, are they not? And in the biggest possible way.
Yeah, I think that if they do that, Connie, I can't see it being on ESPN one because they have a contract every Saturday night. They got the game day built around it. They got huge money invested, and they produce. They have great numbers. I know that a lot of the hype this year is about Lee Corso's last season. I think he's got one game left, but they have the other networks like they're doing with Little League Baseball at times, ESPN2, ESPN News, all that stuff. So they'll protect Saturday night football. I really believe that. But I could see it going to ESPN2, which again will preempt football because on Saturday night, ESPN2 carries football as well.
Let me just mention some of the matchups because I know you and I are both big college football guys, especially since they're talking about having this show in Indianapolis. Illinois is going to be playing Indiana at Indiana. Right now in the preseason rankings, Indiana is ranked 20. Illinois is ranked 12. That is going to be a huge game in that market. But let's not forget, who else is on College Game Day? Pat McAfee. Where is his home? Indianapolis. It feels like the Pat McAfee thing is going to fit into an ESPN performance for this WWE show, if that's the way it goes. But for guys like you and I, Jim, we're also going to be interested on that day. We're talking September 20th in Florida, going down to Miami. So you've got number 15 traveling down to number 10. Those are two really big games and one right in the backyard of this Indianapolis show.
Yeah. It's still a lot of moving parts, but let's also not leave out ABC. They'll have football and they'll have a big game on Saturday night, much like ESPN normally has. So a lot of football to select from. CBS has got football on Saturday night. Fox, I don't know if it's FX or one of the Fox networks other than Fox has it might be FS1 or something like that. But there's a lot of inventory, and these people, these teams are paid. The conferences are paid big money to produce a great show and a hell of a game. So it's still evolving. I expect we'll hear new news on that topic this weekend, because a lot of people are going to be tuned in to the first weekend of college football, and I think I saw where Kansas State plays Iowa State. Now, granted, they're not two powerhouses. They're both not bad, but they'll have an audience. And the main reason they'll have an audience is not because of the loyalty to those two teams. There will be that, but not in abundance, I don't think. But it's the game of football. Football's back, and it's going to be hard for anybody to compete with football this time of the year.
Let me give you a prediction here. Again, I have no inside information, but as we're taking a look at this schedule, where Indiana plays football is just over a mile from where I believe the WWE event will be held. The same building that holds a lot of Monday Night Raws and SmackDowns and that sort of thing. So they're about a mile apart. I believe that they'll have College Game Day set up there for the Indiana game. It'll be a Pat McAfee celebration. They'll set up some sort of dust up, some sort of event that happens there. And then they'll air that game on ESPN, Illinois and Indiana in the afternoon. And then that night, Pat McAfee will get his revenge for whatever happened. But I think they'll roll out the whole red carpet and make this a whole day. I have no inside information, but now that we know it's in Indianapolis, that makes me think, well, Pat McAfee's going to be there. And where else is he on Saturdays? College Game Day.
Right.
Indiana's hosting Illinois. That's going to be a great rivalry. They're both ranked. There's more enthusiasm around that Indiana football program than there's been in my whole lifetime.
Yeah.
It feels like this is going to be College Game Day, Pat McAfee, John Cena, Brock Lesnar. Man, that's a lot of promotional push. And, part of me goes back and forth on, hey, are they doing this to counter program AEW? Or is this really more of an ESPN Pat McAfee thing? I think I've just convinced myself the other direction, Jim.
What direction are you in?
I'm saying this is just a great opportunity for Pat McAfee, ESPN, and WWE. It just happens to be on September 20th because Indiana, obviously when they're hosting a big game, that's something Pat McAfee is going to get folks fired up for.
Yeah. Well, you're right about that. He's built a hell of a business for himself.
No doubt.
He's quite the entrepreneur, and I my hat's off to him. He went from a punter with just a little bit of notoriety to getting exposure and people buying it and liking it. So good for him in that regard. He's got to be making way north of seven figures to do what he loves, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. How about 60 of those north of seven figures?
That's fantastic. Isn't that great?
It's unbelievable. And I know that if he's going to be out there, he's going to be wearing his action pants. He's probably going to be wearing his perfect jeans because summer's flying by and pants season is almost here. And unlike last year, when the first cool morning slapped me awake and reminded me it's pants season and my jeans are stiff as cardboard and don't stretch, well, they looked like I was wearing a 2003 fit. I needed new jeans. I started shopping early this year to make sure I get the best stuff. I repeatedly whispered into my phone, I need new jeans. And the Instagram gods threw me a ridiculous ad of some jack dude running the New York City Marathon in the perfect jean. It was pretty funny. Caught my eye. I clicked on it, learned more, and bought them. They shipped fast. I tried them on, and I said out loud, wow, holy shit, these are the best jeans to grace my legs. This brand of the perfect jean is actually perfect. It's real denim, but not that heavy, stiff, suffocating fabric that you're used to. It's lighter, softer, stretchier, but still durable and just better. It's also hard to shop for because I'm usually in between sizes, but not with the perfect jean. You see, the perfect jean has waist sizes from 26 to 52, lengths from 26 to 38, and different fits from skinny to thick. I was able to find my jeans easily that fit my body without having to settle for a weird size or take them down to the tailors. They're seriously stylish too. So you're going to look great cheering on your kid at the ball game or recording podcast episodes. Or maybe if you're going to be on the red carpet, you can even wear them there. They've literally been worn at the Academy Awards. It's not just their jeans too. They've got all your falls covered. Their den khakis are everything that I love about their jeans, but in a chino style fabric. So it's a bit sharper and more polished to impress the boss. They've even got tees and polos that are buttery soft and stylish and perfect for laying when Mother Nature can't decide exactly what season it is. Hey, check it out right now, especially if you've got high school kids or college kids. Let's add the perfect jean to their back to school list. Let's stop crushing our balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc. And our listeners can get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use the code JR15 at checkout. That's right, 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc. And be sure to use that promo code JR15 after you purchase. They'll ask where you heard them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Fuck your khakis and get the perfect jeans.
That's Conrad for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about Tony Khan here for a minute. He's having some fun on social media this past week. He was asked about if he could sign any wrestler in the history of the industry, like he could travel through time and space, and he's going to work hand in hand with any one performer. Who would it be? And he didn't hesitate. The 1990s Stone Cold Steve Austin. How cool is that? That's got to make you happy.
It's smart.
Yes,
because he's got a proven track record of selling more tickets and more merch and more pay-per-views than anybody you can name. And he has done a great job, Steve has, of addressing and interacting with his audience. They've always felt a part of his show, and so they feel a part of his team. And he's got them convinced, and rightfully so, and accurately so, that he's in it for them. And I know why he was in it, for the goddamn money. But he loves the fans. I think he wishes that he could be more accessible, but he's so popular that that's almost an impossibility. So I think that's a good choice. I would have agreed with Tony. That would have been my choice. And then number 2 would have been Rock. 2 guys I signed, and 2 guys I managed in talent relations. So yeah, that's a good idea. Hey, we talked about attire, Perfect Jean. What a great product. And if you're a fat ass like me, but I weighed 188 this week.
That's not very fat, Jim.
No, I'm coming down a little bit. It's the diabetes medicine, the shots I take.
Oh, Monjourno. Yeah.
That type deal. I don't know what brand it is, but they're in my refrigerator, and I take a shot every night. And I have no problem finding a spot because they want you to take a shot in your stomach. So anyhow, but from day one, Tony Khan never insisted or suggested what the talents wear on air, the announced talent. Everybody's kind of got their little uniform and all that. And I'm going to miss seeing Taz this week, but he's got his attire kind of down. And Tony wears the same old WCW attire, usually a blue coat and a tie. I have never been instructed on what to wear or what not to wear. So, and I appreciate that. The point I'm trying to make in my ramblings is that Tony lets you be yourself.
Yeah.
I think he believes that if you're allowed to be yourself, you will do your best work. And that's what it's really all about. Because how many times you see us on camera? Not very often. Now, we're on camera more often than not on pay-per-views, because you have more time to invest. But he's just that's the kind of guy he is. He lets the talent that he believes are qualified make those decisions for their own wardrobe. And I will say this: we have a wardrobe cabinet that travels, and I'm not sure if he'll be there this week or not. I can't remember. They come on international flights, but we have, and that's at all the TVs. And there's regular TV, Dynamite, Collision, all that stuff is travels with the team, shall we say. So I got a blue blazer, normal announcer stuff that I rarely wear. Sometimes I'm more comfortable wearing something else. So, and it's not about what I'm wearing anyway. It's just not. But Vince would have been all over that deal. All over that deal. He got on my ass right after we changed the name to WWE. I wore my regular TV attire, but it's a logo pullover type thing, and it had a WWF logo on it, and man, did I get tore up. And the worst part of that deal was Jennifer Good, very talented woman. She's out of the business now, but she was just great to work with and smart, understood the product. She had great product knowledge. I've said that so many times. To be successful in things you're selling, you have to have product knowledge. And she did, but she got ripped too. And that was my fault. I didn't even think about it. When you're wearing the same thing for all those years and just pull it all out of the closet and take it off the hanger and put it in your roller bag. That's where I was. I was in autopilot, and boy, it was not met with kindness from the owner.
Let's talk a little bit about our topic today. We're going to be talking about your 1995, and I want to pick off kind of where we left off in January. You had been relieved of your duties by Vince McMahon twice in 1994, but you end the year by returning to, I guess, what might be considered a major power position. You're going to be helping Vince produce and write television. In practice, what does that look like in early 1995? I mean, we've heard stories like, oh, we'd go over to Vince's house or we'd book by the pool. What was it like in early 95?
About the same. Everything was spun around him and his schedule and his timeline. So it was hectic, to be nice about it, because Vince would take phone calls the meeting, and I understand why. I mean, he's running the whole company. He's approving everything from T-shirt logos to pay-per-view cards and graphics and acquisitions and all that. Looking over the payroll after I finished it, and when I hoped I finished it, sometimes they would tweak it, but it was just all his purview. So it was a little unorganized. It just put more on my plate. I stayed very busy, which I did like, and I learned a lot working that closely with Vince. I could book a territory right now if I was so motivated. I'm not, by the way. So the business has changed so much, guys. Wrestlers have lawyers and agents, which I applaud. They need help because these same agents will guide them along financially. Okay, here's our your quarterly tax paying. You're not an employee. You're an independent contractor, and there's a whole different set of rules for that. I've talked to guys that got in tax trouble that didn't know that they had to pay quarterly taxes. What? Oh yeah, where's your tax bill? You know, how are you paying the government for living here? So it was challenging, but boy, I did learn a lot. And the only negative, I guess the thing about it was he would get so many phone calls. He had a speakerphone out there by the pool, and so but he wouldn't hardly turn down a call, I don't think. So that was distracting. But if he came ready to go and had his pads on, it was it was always a fun session. So it was interesting, to say the least. I thought it would be more like working with Cowboy in the Mid-South days. But Bill was very organized and didn't take any calls during our booking meetings, because he'd bring in his booker, who it was, Ernie Ladd or Bill Dundee or Ken Mantell, whomever it may be. We were uninterrupted, and the meetings didn't last all day. I mean, I've been in booking meetings with Vince that lasted for the day. And you know, one of the highlights of that whole day thing was there was a little deli right down the road in Greenwich from Vince's house, and one of us would run and get the food. Right, a little note here. So I like doing it because I could have a smoke on the way. So anyway, I had to get used to his rhythm. Vince's or his rhythm, And once I plugged into it, things went along pretty decent. Of course, because we needed help. We needed somebody to get hot. And same as Tony Khan, we picked Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Let's talk about those booking meetings. With Vince, who else would be involved in that? What did the creative team look like in early '95?
They looked sleepy. No, Bruce was in them
Yep.
more often than not. Pat Patterson was in them more often than not, because Pat pulled back from all of his administrative duties. He didn't do payroll. He didn't do all. He did help write TV, and after time went by, I did the booking of the live events, and Pat just did TV. So that settled things in a little bit, because we all had a job and something to do that was important and had a deadline. When you do first run TV, man, the motor never stops. And if Vince was having a good day, then we all had a good day. If Vince was being interrupted too many times, or you got bad news on a phone call, or etc., then none of us had a good day. That's when you'd order lunch and dinner on two different trips at the little deli, because it was the closest thing to decent food, homemade bread. Bruce and I loved it because we could eat what the hell ever we wanted. And Patterson was the same, basically, but we all have bad eating habits, and we knew those days were going to be bitches, going to be tough, but it had to get done. And I remember many times where we would go on the road, and we thought that TV was done, and then Vince would read it over a few times, decide he didn't like it. So when we flew into the TV town the night before the show, we went to his room to rewrite television that we thought we'd finished yesterday. So it could get frustrating, especially when you're in a creative mode. And the other thing about this is he'll say, well, I want so and so and so and so to wrestle, or to have an angle, or do an interview. Well, we'd look on our traveling information, and they weren't booked. So all of a sudden, now you're in a higher airplane ticket rate. There's no advance purchase. Sometimes you get to TV and you say, "Oh shit, we didn't call this guy." So we'd have to get on the phone and call the guy who thought he had a day off, and fly on day of into the TV town, and do superstars and challenge and all that stuff. So it was just days before live. So, but it was interesting. I'm glad that little deli was just down the street.
Let's address a rumor from the newsletters at the time. There was speculation that you might actually become executive producer of Monday Night Raw. Was that ever actually in the cards? Did you spend time with Kevin Dunn, or is this all just rumor and innuendo from the
It's rumor and innuendo, Connie. Kevin was Vince's right-hand man. And he told Kevin and I this to our face: you guys are the two most important guys in our company right now. It's all about talent and television. And talent was my area, and television was Kevin's. The look, the sound, production values, all that stuff. And he did a hell of a job. Vince couldn't have got anybody better than Kevin Dunn. And I worked with a lot of producers and executive producers. He's the most hands-on, most organized, and there was never any doubt in his part of the operation who was in charge. So if you wanted an answer that revolved around television, you had one guy that you could go to and get your question or your concern addressed. So no, but that was I never even heard that one. I know Vince has plans for me to ascend to a bigger role, but it had nothing to do with taking Kevin Dunn's place.
Let's talk about you're jumping back into commentary. You know, we mentioned as we put a button on 1994 that when you came back in, it wouldn't be as an announcer, but very quickly you're going to replace Vince as the lead announcer on Action Zone alongside Todd Pettengill. How does that come about? Is this just a function of Vince not wanting to go into the studio on a Sunday morning to do live voiceovers on a tape show, and he says, "Hey Jim, you go do it"?
I think he thought it was beneath him.
Okay.
I think because he is so high profile, the voice of all the pay-per-views, the voice of the #1 syndicated show that had the biggest exposure globally, and then going from that to Action Zone, it not only did it not sound right, it didn't fit, it didn't feel good. I liked it because it gave me something to do, and something I loved doing. And Todd was easy to work with. He knew that he had enough information, product knowledge to get by. But he was just, you know, he was easy to work with. He wasn't combative or trying to be funny all the time, but he had a great sense of humor. And well, look at that tie I'm wearing. Jesus Christ. What was my little wife thinking? And then, of course, Vince is gone. He's changed over from to the mock turtleneck thing, and very prominently putting his wedding ring out there so everybody could see it. But that was how it worked. And there were a lot of moving parts, Connie. A lot of things changed. A lot of things changed overnight. A lot of things changed in a 2 or 3 week time, or a little bit longer. Vince stayed on Superstars, but I think his work schedule just got the better of him as far as being able to come to the studio once a week, every week, and do two. Make two. We did two. So it wasn't every week. It was every other week. So the talent and crew let us be in there, because when Vince did the voiceovers for Superstars, he did the same thing. He took the calls. They're easier to access. He'd work with his partner, usually Savage. I remember Savage being there a lot, which I was glad I wasn't. And you know, they fed off each other's drive and their lack of a better term, an ego. But it was just a tough day. Even back to the food. Monsoon and I were doing challenge, so we would talk to the producer who took care of that, and we'll say, "Well, just get the same thing as last week," because what it was it wasn't a dietitian's menu. I mean, Monsoon would have his pastrami with mayonnaise. He loved mayonnaise, and he'd get pastrami sandwich with mayo. But you know, they had nice salads, and it was a different culture than I was used to in Oklahoma or even Atlanta. So we had fun in that regard. And if we got hungry in the middle of the afternoon, we stopped recording and come to a break spot and go eat again. So it was good. It's good stuff. It's great fellowship with that challenge crew.
Jim, I got to ask, what was Todd Pettengill's food order? What did he like for lunch?
Oh, golly. He was pretty basic.
I'm just kidding, Jim. How was Todd Pettengill to work with? I mean, he's a name from a bygone era, but a big part of the WWF in this era. I've heard he had heat from some of the other people because his radio career had done so well. What was your experience working with Todd like?
I didn't think he had an ego, but he was really good at what he did. He was a big time star with Scott Shannon in New York City, and they were in Morning Drive. So their audience was huge, and his name identity, his recognition factor was obviously very significant. But I didn't have any issues with him. You know, you think, well, when you get a new guy and he's going to have to work with the wrestling guy, yours truly, and this may not go as smoothly as we all would like it to be, but we can damn sure get an hour show. And so I kind of had that off the record thought in my head. We could at least do an hour show, and we succeeded in that. But those issues never really came up. We laughed, we told jokes, we had a good. I think both of us have a decent sense of humor. He was very prompt. because he'd get off the air and come straight to Stanford. And that was like a hour drive, if that. So it worked out fine, Connie. It's just he was not from he got a degree from a different college than I. And so we meshed. We understood each other's strengths and weaknesses. And I taught him a lot about wrestling because, we'd go through storylines and no, you don't want to use that adjective or whatever. It worked out. It just goes to show you, if you are willing to communicate and you have the product knowledge that you should have, everything will work out fine. And for God's sakes, it's an hour. Come on.
Let's talk a little bit about the way the shows were produced back then. The pre-taped WWF shows on USA Network often had live commentary done at the studio in Stamford to make the shows feel more current.
Right.
And they're even trying to shoehorn in references from that day's news just to prove, hey, we are live. So this is a Vince call, I assume, or do you think USA wanted it this way?
Vince did it. Vince did everything, Conrad. Nothing that aired on television aired without Vince's approval. It in content and style, the whole deal. So, because I'm sure it cost the company some money to do that thing live.
Was it harder to you? I mean, you had been there live when matches. You've done commentary live when it's happening, but now when you're doing live commentary on a tape show, that has to be an adjustment for you at this point, right?
It isn't if I haven't seen the tape.
Okay.
If I haven't seen the tape, I protect myself by being more spontaneous and more reactionary, if that's a word. So that's. But if I previewed it, and I got the thought in my head how I was going to describe that moment or that incident, then it didn't come off as good. I didn't think. A lot of people wouldn't even have known that because I probably sounded the same. My voice didn't change. It's just my timing, my dialogue, and my tenor, my texture. That's why I've gotten a lot of accolades over the years, which I'm thankful for being so, out there sometimes. More enthusiasm, more that, so it worked out. You got to listen, man. You got to listen, and you got to. You think Vince ever previewed those shows? Shit, no. He's at the gorilla position on there being taped, but he's being bothered and conversed with, and cell phones. The cell phone was an enemy for the guys in creative. Bruce might not agree. I don't know. Pat, God bless him. But the cell phones was a huge interruption because people that thought they needed to talk to Vince knew that they could via cell phone, no matter if he was in Des Moines or Oklahoma City.
Let's talk a little bit about just the name JR. I know that we've talked about this and we touched on it before, that in your first year of employment with Vince, wearing a cowboy hat and calling yourself JR was not something you were too enthused to do, but it does feel like you're going to soften your stance on that a little bit. What led to that? How did he warm you up to that idea, or did he just sort of wear you down and you're like, okay, I'll try it?
Well, it's a little bit of the both, and I'm not going to be evasive, but he told me, his vision for me, and which is featured attire. I looked at it like, do you remember the old Porter Wagner television shows?
I do, yes.
He wore those very loud jackets with wagon train images and horses and all that shit. And that was never me. I was never a cowboy, even though I grew up in Oklahoma. The old man had, 6 or 8 pair of boots. I think I had 1 pair of boots as a kid growing up until I outgrew them, and I get 1 more pair. And that was just to be in style for the annual rodeo that came to Westfield, Oklahoma, in the last weekend of July. So I just was not it wasn't me. And I told him that. I said, I'll do the best I can with whatever you want me to do. However you book me, I'll be there and I'll perform. I'm just telling you that that's not my natural feel. I'm not comfortable with it. I'll do it, and I'll do it good, but it's not the direction I would go with JR. And he saw it my way. And over the years, so the only identification of JR was my black hat, Connie.
So you no longer had a hard on for the hat, but JR still has a hard on for you. Guys, enter the room dick first. Bluetooth tablet. It's a cheat code for your crotch. It's stronger, harder, longer lasting. Like somebody gave your downstairs a pep talk and a gym membership. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And I got to tell you, last time JR took a Blue Chew, his dick got sponsored by an energy drink company and refused to do missionary, saying it was bad for the brand. Extreme positions only. Guys, this isn't just about performance. This is about your legacy or your third legacy. Give her group chat something to talk about. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Go discover your options right now at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use the promo code JR at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head on over to bluechew.com for details and important safety information. And a big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast.
Been with us since day one, man. I always say that people advertise on this show. If they got a good product and they'll give us a time to establish an audience for that product, we'll make them some money.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I look at it. Very simple. If they got a good product and they give us the time to build the brand, we'll sell product for them, because Conrad and I are not liars, and I don't feel good about advertising. We've had occasional here, there, and yon. The advertisers that I didn't think delivered as much as they should, and so I don't want to get started on that down that rabbit hole. But in any event, we got good, like Blue Chew. Jesus Christ, Blue Chew works. It's affordable. It's not going to harm your health. And I'm 73 and I don't know it. My body don't know it. The important parts of my body don't know it, because I'm a believer of Blue Chew. So that's just one example. But I love doing these commercials. I don't do a lot of. Conrad's the best at it. But I really enjoy promoting our sponsors' products and seeing their growth when we see that they renewed. Well, if you renew, you're selling product, and we get a lot of renewals.
Go check it out. You're going to love Blue Chew. And I loved the way the creative started to change back in 95. And I wonder how much of that is your influence. We started to see more reality-based stuff. Mm-hmm. And as a reminder, some of the angles from 95, we've got Bam Bam Bigelow shoving the guest of honor, Lawrence Taylor. The announcers are handling it more like it was a shoot rather than an over-the-top wrestling thing. And we even saw a 1, 2, 3 kid seizure angle. In the back half of the year, we're going to get stuff like the Shawn Michaels collapse. So there's lots of really cool reality-based stuff here.
Right.
And we're also seeing some silliness that year where maybe Vince is trying to find what the new normal is in a post-Hulk Hogan WWF era. Because we've got Jerry Lawler being shown covering his feet in horse poop for weeks. We've got the arrival of Glenn Jacobs as Dr. Isaac Yankum DDS. We've got Carl Ouellette wanting to use his legitimate backstory of his glass eye as a new character where he's turned into an evil pirate. I mean, this is some kind of silly stuff that's happening here. Yeah. Was this all Vince or who was an advocate for some of the over-the-top campy stuff, and who was pushing for more realism?
Well, I was pushing for more realism, as you can imagine. Patterson, when he got in that creative mode, the realistic mode, was as good as anybody has ever been. Because that's how they booked in San Francisco. He was in San Francisco 12 or 13 years, I think. So, he was, when he got in that mood, if he was in the mood to write serious, Patterson was the best. Brucey always had could have a silly side, but that was just his sense of humor coming out. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. The good thing about it is that but it's all going to be Vince's call. So I I don't know how to explain it any better than that. Bruce contributed a lot to the funny stuff
Okay.
and the over the top stuff. And he was good at it. That was he was inclined to think that way, and he liked laughing and he liked bullshitting and stuff. And he's fun to work with. Patterson, if he came in and he was hit with that feeling, he could adapt. If he was hit with a serious feeling, or JR's got an idea for a angle, and it's pretty violent or it's pretty aggressive, then if his mind got set in that, then he was amazing. So it creative's a funny thing, man. It's really a funny thing. The easiest way to do creative is to do long-term planning. I'm sure that Tony Khan has got uh, uh, pay-per-views blotted out, marked out, because you got to get to someplace. He's in this case, aside from this Sunday, Tony's got to get back to Wembley, and you can't get back to Wembley if you don't have if you know the destination. Then it's up to you to create the route that you want to take to get to that destination. And that's how I've always looked at it. Longer term planning makes it easier on the creative team, and it makes it, just a much simpler, organized process. So that's kind of how I look at that deal. Now, to the contrary, Vince, like I said before, he'll change in a heartbeat. He'll change after a night's sleep while you're on your way to the town. When we were doing TVs basically in the Northeast, that happened a lot because we didn't travel that far. So we could either get a real easy flight and fly in that night, or we would, when we got there, we'd have messages because we didn't have cell phones at that point. We'd have messages left at the front desk to call Vince, call VKM. And sometimes he'd just leave it for me, or sometimes he might just leave it for Bruce. Bruce seemed to be always included because he did a lot of the grunt work, in all honesty. So I like the system that both companies, big companies, have now. Seem to work for both of them. And I've seen Tony Khan's book, the one that you have from Dusty. I've seen his version of that to some degree, and I was very impressed with how organized he was. It might seem like he's not organized, but he's willing to listen to any of the. When the talent gets to TV and they get the rundown and they find out what they're doing, that's when the lobbying starts. It's like Washington D.C. Everybody's got an angle, and it generally involves them, of which I applaud, because if they're invested, man, they're going to bust their balls to make sure it works.
Let's talk a little bit about house shows. Who was booking house shows in '95? Would that have been something you handled as far as the matchups and what you were going to be promoting on the house shows, or who was handling that here?
How was JJ's tenure there? Was he there in '95?
He was. He leaves in '96.
Yeah, JJ did a lot in my early days there, and I learned a lot from JJ. I had two really good role models in the live event booking world, and Cowboy Bill, and then of course, he had his guys, Ernie and Mantell, and he kept them as long as they stayed fairly hot, or we were still drawing or making a little bit of money. But then when they cooled down, he had no issues. And I don't sound like he killed them. He stabbed them in the heart. It's just that when you lose your edge and you're not writing hit songs anymore, it's easy to make some changes and try to get some fresh blood in there. Cowboy was a lot like Pat Patterson in the standpoint that when Pat got motivated, when Pat heard that lyric walking into the meeting room, figuratively, he got that song in his head that he kept singing all day. And for a guy like me who liked the more serious stuff, and to my fault, then he was the greatest. because now he's back to writing weekly TV for Roy Shire in San Francisco, and a lot of that involved violence and blood and dramatic elements, and but they all had a personal issue, and I would say Pat made sure that the title stayed valued, and a lot of times we overlook that. We give it too much credit. Titles sometimes, if the talent's not over, and their issue with whomever the challenger isn't logical, and it's going to be a hell of a performance, then why do it?
Let's talk about 1995 creatively. I mean, Kevin Nash he's going to morph into this smiling babyface Diesel as the WWF champion and the lead babyface. Do you remember there being a moment where everyone sort of understood that this direction wasn't clicking? I mean, I think Diesel really worked as a heel. I don't know how well it worked as a babyface, especially when we started to refer to him as Kevin Nash and not Diesel. I know that Bruce didn't really like that and thought it made him quote unquote regular. He felt like a regular person, not this larger than life superhero. And make no mistake, Kevin Nash, one hell of an athlete, a D1 collegiate scholarship basketball athlete. But respectfully, it's not like his basketball career led to a Hall of Fame NBA career. And I know that Bruce felt like highlighting someone's collegiate background, if they didn't go on to overwhelming success as a professional, made them feel more like a regular person and less like a superhero. That's Bruce's perspective. What did you think about a smiling babyface Diesel and acknowledging him as Kevin Nash with his amateur status?
I think we dropped the ball booking him at times. I was not against whatsoever Kevin Nash becoming a champion. He had look. He was articulate. He was well spoken. He was athletic enough to get by with about a match with about anybody. I mean, I've seen him have great matches with arguably one of the greatest workers of all time, and Bret Hart. His matches, he didn't have any real stinkers. But you got to understand that he wasn't at the level of a worker, Pat Patterson, or somebody like that. He wasn't a natural at it. He didn't grow up a Major League Wrestling fan. He just, but I applaud that. I thought it was a good. I thought it was it risky? Man, maybe. As it worked out, it seemed to be. But I thought it was sure as hell worth the give it a shot, because you got nobody else that looks like him. Vince is on that. Was still on that, and he probably still is today. How many heads do you turn in the airport? So that kind of answers a lot of questions. He said, "Well, what about Shawn? He was 6 feet tall." Yeah, but you're talking about Shawn Michaels. You're not talking about a good average to good wrestler. Like you could think of a lot of examples that on their day they were awesome, but they have more off days than on days. It seems to me like. But Kevin had that look, and he turned heads, and a good-looking guy. He could chat up anybody, so he was a good communicator. And I thought it was. I applaud the chance at it. Let's travel this road and see what we get, and that's what we did.
I want to talk a little bit about Bret Hart too, because we know that Kevin Nash is going to be the lead baby face. It feels like we're de-emphasizing Bret Hart a little bit. We know that Bret is going to beat Kevin Nash in November at Survivor Series for the world title. And most people would think, hey, that's because they already had the WrestleMania plan in mind for Shawn and Bret. But do you think Vince had sort of run out of ideas, or what was going on with Bret? Because we know that he's going to transition to Bret, in 92, late 92, and then he goes back to Hogan in 93, and then he goes back to Bret. But by 95, I've heard from Bruce him say something like Lisa Wolf would say, Vince is looking for his next hit. He just needs his next hit. And Bruce would also say people in the office were kind of challenged with how do we present Bret? How do we feature and focus on Bret? And people started to say, what would we do for Hulk? clearly they tried something different. It didn't work. Do you think Vince just didn't really know how to promote the WWF with the absence of Hulk Hogan? Because it doesn't feel like he really ever achieved the success he hoped for with Bret or Diesel.
Well, I think Vince is eternally looking for the next big thing,
Mm-hmm.
statuesque, muscular. You know, Hogan was 6'6" or 6'7" or whatever he was, big guy, and Bret was about 6 feet tall. So I think he looked at that as, am I sending good money after bad, or can I recreate the wheel? You know, I never ever doubted that Bret would not be successful if he came back as a champion. People loved him. They invested in his character. They had confidence in it. They just thought he was. I didn't think he lost a step. I really didn't, and I don't to this very day have a difference of opinion after seeing how it all worked out. I mean, Bret was a great champion, and here's the thing about it that people don't factor in. Bret could go out there and have a 5-star match with just about anybody on the card.
Yeah.
I remember him having, he had the match with Pierre, the one-eyed pirate, and it opened up people's eyes, no pun intended, to what was a underutilized guy. Same thing. Do you remember Hakushi?
Yeah, of course.
Had all the tattoos, all over the little stick-ons all over his body.
Yes, sir.
He couldn't speak English worth a shit. Neither can I, but that hasn't offended my career. But he had a match on TV. I think Superstars or Challenge. It might have been Challenge. I think Monsoon and I called it. That was just phenomenal. So language barrier, not experience level, or not. Bret had no equal, and that stuff doesn't go away. That's so much mental, and it's in the mind. And Bret always thought that he was as good. It's like the old Toby Keith song, God bless him. What was the term? I'm not as good as I once was.
I'm as good once as I ever was. Yeah.
But I'm as good once as I ever was. In a loose form, he kind of had that opinion of himself. I can't disagree with that. I never saw Bret Hart have a bad match with the Hakushis of the world or the Pierre, the Pirate of the world. Just didn't see it. So he just was a natural, so gifted that I knew that he'd look at the second go round or third or whatever it was as champion as a challenge, because he knew that he had to change his game as well and not sing the same songs in the order that you did the last time you were in that town. You close with, I love the Eagles, as you know, and the Eagles changed. I don't think they changed their closing song. I think usually it was Desperado, and then sometimes I heard them saying, what's that great song that they had, their biggest hit, the Eagles?
Hotel California.
Yeah, I heard them do. I've seen them do that twice on a show. To open the show, which got everybody jacked out of their mind, and then to close the show, which jacked them back up to say goodnight. So there's a lot of ways to look at it psychologically, but I think he looked at it as a challenge. And if he's motivated to give you the best of Bret Hart, which I never saw him not, then hell, man, there's your answer, because he can make other guys increase their value and increase the equity in that matter. So I got real estate on my mind, Conrad. I got my condo's going to be listed at the last day of the month or of August, and I'm curious. It's kind of like a little adventure for me. I got a lot of work to do, but I got good help, and my daughters are stepping up and wanting to help. I got to figure out who's going to drive my Volvo. I never owned a Volvo. I got to figure out who's going to drive my Lexus. from Jacksonville Beach to Norman, Oklahoma. I ain't doing it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jim, if that means you're going to be looking for a new car, can I recommend Car Gurus? You know, making a big purchase should come with confidence, not confusion.
Great
Car
company.
Gurus helps you cut through the noise, showing you the best deals and in-depth vehicle details so you can feel confident about your purchase. Because when it comes to your big deal, you deserve the best deal. Car Gurus will connect you with trusted dealerships when you're ready, ensuring a transparent and hassle-free buying process. And with over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more listings than any other online major automotive marketplace in the US. So you know you can find the best deal. Car Gurus gives you the control to shop how you want to shop with all the tools, information, and data-driven deal ratings that you need. It's no wonder that SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. So buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. That's cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. Go to cargurus.com, cargurus.com, cargurus.com.
Good, pardon me, good company.
Yes, sir.
And pardon me.
We're going to talk a little bit about In Your House. You know, 1995 is a transitional year for the company, not only behind the scenes, but what the fans are seeing. We've had sort of the big five, I guess we'll call them. Of course, we know we had Royal Rumble and we had King of the Ring and SummerSlam and Survivor Series, and who could forget WrestleMania? But 95 brings around a new idea. Instead of these big 5 3-hour shows at $29.95, now we're going to have monthly 2-hour shows starting at $14.95. Now, this starts in May, and I'm curious, what do you think of this idea? Once upon a time, it was a foreign concept to have one pay-per-view in wrestling. Vince made it standard to have 4, expanded to 5 with the addition of King of the Ring. But now we're saying, all right, we'll make it a little more affordable, but we're going to do them every month. Are you an advocate of that, Jim?
Yeah. I thought we'd outpriced what the market was going to support. That was my opinion on it. It's just a smaller ticket item. You could buy it more frequently. If you had a pay-per-view every month, my theory of booking in advance, having your destination established, and in the WWE world, that would have been WrestleMania. Now it's premium live. It's a whole different configuration. So, but yeah, I thought it was a good idea because it made it affordable for volume buying. It's kind of like opening your own Costco or Walmart or something along those lines. Those big companies that sell a lot of product. So yeah, I thought it was. Here's the thing, Conrad. We were losing money. We had to change the model. We had to change some of the numbers, and I thought this was an opportunity to create more volume at $14.95 than not.
We debut it in Syracuse, New York with Diesel and Sid for the world title. That's May of 95. June, of course, is going to be King of the Ring. But In Your House 2 is where we see the Nashville show. And what everybody's talking about is not Diesel and Sid with the Lumberjacks. It's the fabulous match with Jeff Jarrett and Shawn Michaels. To this day, Jeff Jarrett thinks it might be the match he's most proud of. He and Shawn tore the house down. And that was also supposed to be the show where they started the backstage frustration between Double J and the roadie. They were going to do this Milli Vanilli expose,
right?
And it would be revealed that
now that was Bruce. That's a lot of Bruce right there. The music, Road Dogg, all that stuff. Bruce was very involved and innovative in the creative of that storyline because it had a lot of moving parts and it was new territory. And there were some people there that saw the star of that group. It's the one on the right, Road Dogg, and he's proven to be pretty damn valuable as a booker type guy. And Jeff had been around for so long, and he couldn't still work. He's a hell of a worker. He still is. The thing about Jeff Jarrett is he's still a hell of a worker.
Oh yeah.
And I'm wondering why we don't see him more. So, but anyway, maybe I'll see him this weekend. Who knows? You never know. It's wrestling.
Oh yeah, he's going to be there. He is indeed going to be at Forbidden Door. So,
What I want to know is his wife going to be there?
well,
she's a lot.
She's going to be there.
She's a lot more fun to hang around than him. I'm kidding. I like Jeff. I didn't always like him, but I like him now.
Let's talk just a little bit about that angle with the benefit of hindsight. I mean, it's pretty plain to see that Jeff was talking to his dad, Jerry, and Jerry was talking to Wade Keller at the Torch. Yeah. And Jerry would explain to Wade at the Torch that the trajectory of this storyline just didn't make much sense to Jeff from a long-term storytelling perspective. The idea being that it would climax right away with Rhodey getting the ultimate comeuppance for Jeff, exposing who really sang the song, and then the subsequent program really couldn't live up to that. And this all happens after Jeff just dropped the Intercontinental title in his hometown of Nashville and was exposed as a fraud in his hometown of Nashville. So I could see why Jeff and Jerry might say, and this is an old tried and true thing we hear with old time wrestlers all the time. And then what? Where do we go from there?
Oh yeah.
So like once it's exposed, where would the Jeff Jarrett Double J character go after this? It doesn't sound like they had a real plan, one that at least Jeff was comfortable with.
Yeah.
I know at the time, man, everybody had a lot of heat with Jeff because he walked out after that In Your House too, and he took the roadie with him. So Brian James and Jeff are gonna be in his dad's hot tub by the time the pay-per-view comes to a close. They've walked out on Vince McMahon. What did you think of the creative then, and has your opinion changed on it since?
I think that when you have talented people like Jeff Jarrett and Road Dogg, if you're motivated as a creator, as a booker, as a creative team member, you'll figure it out. You'll find it out. Do I know the answer right now today? All I know is that I'm going to use Jeff Jarrett and Road Dogg up all the way up to their abilities and more, because those are two talented guys. Jeff was waiting to make it on the national stage. Road Dogg had never been given that opportunity. So you find something. You find something. You get in the studio and you start playing your music, and you see and you collaborate. And so I don't know what the answer is, but I know that there's many out there. I believe that then. I believe it now.
It is interesting to think, hey, would there have been a better way to do that? We need to ask Bruce and Jeff about that, like some sort of alternative creative that could have worked. When Jeff does walk out on the company, is that just the talk of the locker room? Is that the talk of the company when he walks out? How do you remember Vince responding to that? And what did JJ Dillon and just what was the chatter inside the office, inside the tent?
Nobody said a lot. It's surprising. I would have thought just the opposite. Jeff's friends or territory buddies, guys that are a little bit more old school, or more emotionally invested in it than a lot of the new guys, because they had not been around Jeff long enough to develop the relationship that he would eventually have with talents today, and so forth. So there was two sides of the aisle. Some didn't give a shit because they looked at it as a better opportunity for them to advance up the card by one of the better workers that we had being gone, being out of the equation. And then you had others that saw the talent in Jeff, which he had an abundance of, that couldn't figure out why he wasn't being used. I don't know. And Jeff could answer this to you better on his podcast, because I don't know the answer. And I don't know if Jeff and Vince had issues, and if they did, you know what it was about. The two C's, cash and creative.
That's right.
So I don't know. It's hard to answer that question, Conrad, to be honest with you. But I as someone who has booked cards and helped write pay-per-views and manage a talented talent roster, I figured something out. You just don't. He's an asset. You get him his touches, as they say in football, because he's a game breaker. He's never going to go out there and stink up the joint ever. Jeff was a lot like Bret Hart in the skill level, that they could have great matches with anybody. And ironically, I'm still of the opinion that in the right scenario, in the right position, in the right build, that Jeff could have a successful, profitable run in AEW still to this day.
Well, I'll tell you something else you can still enjoy to this day is JR's fabulous grilling products. You've heard me brag about it for years. If you haven't tried it already, what are you waiting for? I've been simping for the all-purpose seasoning. It's good on your eggs, it's good on your steak, it's good on your chicken, it's good on your pork. Hell, it's good on your popcorn. You got to try it. You'll also want to try 2 types of barbecue sauce. There's a hot sauce, there's a ketchup, there's a mustard. And hey, have we mentioned that there's autographed action figures and trading cards and books? There's something for everybody. And as my pal JR always says, it costs nothing to look at jrsbbq.com. What should folks be on the lookout for these days, Jim?
Well, the all-purpose seasoning just doesn't fade. It's got a great audience. It's got great client loyalty. I like the mustard because I stopped eating as much mayonnaise. Thinking about my partner, Gorilla Monsoon, I don't eat as much mayonnaise as I used to. He's the guy that put the mayonnaise on the pastrami sandwiches, thick mayonnaise. I've seen him send guys back to the deli because they didn't have enough mayonnaise on his pastrami sandwich. So anyway, I got off in that rabbit hole. But the mustard, I started eating a lot more mustard because I think our mustard has either 1 or 2 grams of sugar, and it's got some personality to it, as I like to say. And it's also good. The all-purpose seasoning and the mustard are good on a lot of fish presentations. So I've gotten smart where if I want to, my youngest daughter got me this, what do you call those things? The air fryer in it, and there's a grill and a broiler and all that stuff. So I eat a lot of fish because I think it's good for me. And I'm like you can see to some degree, I'm losing some weight because I'm eating smarter, and I don't eat as many meals in the daytime or at nighttime. I eat at 4 o'clock or so. I'm like some of those old sitcoms you used to see on TV. We eat dinner at 4 o'clock, or we eat supper at 6, and every day at 6. So anyhow, I love the mustard, and if you haven't tried it, and you say, "Well, I never liked mustard," this is not normal mustard, and it sounds hyperbolish. Maybe it is a little bit, but it's worth it. It's worth to try a bottle and see what you think about it. I bought some boar's head barbecue chicken breast for sandwiches, and I had some sandwiches with mustard, lettuce, and turkey. I think it's turkey or chicken. Hell, I don't know. It's all the same to me. So I have a propensity for the mustard and the all-purpose seasoning. If you're a ketchup guy, our ketchup is Chipotle ketchup. It's got a sweet and a little bit of a personality trait to it as well. And of course, our number one seller is our JR's original barbecue sauce. And we ain't grown out of the barbecue business or the sauce. We're still peddling it away, and it's hard to be your own boss. It's hard to own a business in today's times, especially when it's online. And so, in any event, I'm proud of those products. Wife Jan and my mom had a huge influence in developing those brands. I got a manufacturer in Oklahoma City that makes it for us. So, and we can't keep this jerky in stock. It's amazing, and it's expensive as hell, but it's really good. But we can't keep it in stock. It's got that big a demand. So it's fun being an entrepreneur, Conrad, as you well know. You're a big timer. I'm just trying to sell a few bottles of sauce and call it a day.
Well, I think you've underestimated yourself. People love your products. They're going to try it once. And I want to stress, JR said this before, and I know it to be true. A lot of people will buy a bottle of sauce because they want to display it on their shelf next to a JR action figure. I get that. Why don't you buy 2 bottles, one to try and one to display? I'm promising you, after you finish that first bottle, you're going to go to the shelf and you're going to reload yourself, and then you'll be back at jrsbbq.com.
Now you're
That's what
talking.
Jim always says. We're going to be in a reorder position. If you're cruising over to the website today, I want to mention that JR's tag team partner on the site has $7 sauces right now, 20% off on seasonings, 40% off on gift boxes. And they've got a brand new JR's black hat. So if you want a black hat to represent JR, go check it out. They've got it at jrsbbq.com.
Conrad, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we sign a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I get back to Oklahoma, where our little warehouse is, and where we process all the orders, we'll be a lot more timely, I think, and we'll be able to sign a lot more items and personalize them. So we're going all out for our customers and doing the best we can to make them happy. Because the customers ain't happy, we just got to tag out. I don't want to tag out.
Well, we're glad you guys didn't tag out with us today. Thank you for joining us as we talked about 1995. We're going to cut our conversation here because as we talk about the rest of 95, and we will be doing this in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about Bill Watts coming into the fold here in the WWF. Things are going to change in a hurry. And of course, if you're reading the newsletters, they all believe that JR was the one pulling the strings. I can't wait to talk about it, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the WWF in 1995 as we'll continue our conversation in the coming weeks. Next week, we're going to catch up with Jim and see all about his experience as he called AEW and New Japan's Forbidden Door pay-per-view. It was a sold-out show. I'm sure everybody's going to have a blast. We're going to talk about it next week right here. We hope you'll make plans to join us. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so you won't miss us the next time we're live. Jim, thank you so much for the time today, and I hope you have a safe trip across the pond.
Thank you, Conrad. You did a great job. You and Bull Ramus, Dave Silva, a.k.a. when he didn't have his mask on. I am looking forward to this trip. You know, at 73, I don't know how many more opportunities or chances I'm going to get to travel and do these shows. There's no end in sight for me, but you know, like I said, I am 73, and so hell, I'm just happy to wake up every morning. So anyway, I appreciate that. It's going to be great. The crowd's going to be amazing. It may be the most dynamic crowd because of the strategic nature of Tony Khan's booking. You got these English stars, these Brits and so forth, that have a chance to perform in the biggest building, most famous building in the country, with and some great matchups. Conrad went over the card. It's a who's who, and I think it's going to be great. And I'm really excited about it. At my stage of life and my experience level, it takes a lot to get me that excited. I'm that excited about this show. So join us on pay-per-view if you can, and you won't regret it. You're going to see shit that you just never believed was going to happen. And we always throw several curveballs on these shows. And I love them because I don't know anything about them until they happen. That's how you enjoy being a fan. Don't try to get too much information. It's not worth the effort, and it's going to affect your viewing pleasure. I promise you. So Conrad, thank you again for everything you do. And folks, we'll be back here next week. And
looking forward to it. We'll see you next week right here on Grilling JR.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.